Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to another episode of Compelled by Purpose. I don't know which road led you here, but I welcome you to take a seat and stay a while. I'm Elizabeth, your host, and without much ado, let's get into today's episode. Good works. Not every work, not all the work. Good works. Good, according to Strong's Concordance as we read, originating from God. What He has empowered a man to do in his life, given to him through faith. I want you to imagine with me a dark room. And you're seated in a dark room, can't see anything, and you hear a growl. I believe your mind would imagine a number of things. You'll think it's a pet. You'll think it's a man. You'll think a creature, an insect. The mind begins to give ideas and options, trying to identify what the noise is. It happens with small children all the time when you put them to bed. And in the darkness, their mind begins to imagine things. You know, they say a monster's under the bed. Someone's hiding in the cupboard, and in the closet. And what do we do as parents? We turn the light on, and we show them, see, nothing's under the bed, nothing's in the closet, nothing's hiding in the corner. And that's a definition of a darkened mind. What happened in the garden? When Adam and Eve ate of the fruit of good and evil, what God had told them, all of a sudden, got clouded in this myriad of options. Not just one thing, but many things. And man since then has walked a life of darkness, of no distinction. So it is with you in a dark room, hearing a growl. The ideas are many. The child imagines numerous things, but when you turn on the light, things become distinct. You see the bed, you see the chair. You identify if it's a cat in the room. You identify if it's someone in the room. It could be none of those. It could be the door creaking because its hinges haven't been oiled for a while. But what the light does is that it gives distinction. It eliminates the options. Good works. Distinct from all the other works. Now, why is it important that we do good works? Why is it that we identify exactly what God would have us do and not just do anything and everything? Let me put it to you this way, as the Bible does. Every man is a builder. Everything that you do every day is a building block. We're all builders. We're building a house. And if we look in the Bible, in the book of Matthew, it shows the first kind of people. Matthew 7, verse 24. Therefore, the title is The Wise and Foolish Builders. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who has built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat up against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who's built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat up against that house, and it fell with a great crash. This story defines two distinct sets of people. People who hear the words of God and build on a foundation that is the rock. And who is the rock? Jesus is described in the Bible as the chief cornerstone, the foundation. And everyone who builds on that foundation Their house is built on a rock. But then there's the foolish builder who hears the words of God but doesn't take them, doesn't put them into practice, and he continues to build, still a builder, but builds his house on the sand, and the rain comes down, and what happens to that house is that it crushes and it falls. A little earlier, before God speaks about the building, he says, Matthew 7, verse 15, "Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, and a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them. Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. And many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles?' Then I will tell them plainly, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.'" And so here we see a description of people who do wonderful things, who prophesy, who drive out demons, who perform miracles. But he says to them, "I never knew you. Away from me, you evil doers." A bad tree cannot bear good fruit. The good fruit, the good works, are only possible on the foundation of Jesus. Without that foundation, the option is a bad tree, and the only thing that can come from a bad tree is bad fruit. Prophesying, driving out demons, performing miracles is described as evil doing because the foundation is wrong. So as the first set of people who don't build on the foundation of Jesus, and their houses get destroyed. They get put into the fire. Now the second category of people is a man who accepts Jesus, gets saved, and continues to work, still building, but even then, the word says, salvation is just but the start. Be careful how you build after salvation. And why is that? Because there's a distinction. Go with me to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and this is Paul speaking to the people of God, the Christians, and he says, by the grace of God, verse 10, 1 Corinthians 3 verse 10, by the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as a wise builder. There we go again. He recognizes that he's building and continues to say, and someone else is building on it. But each one should build with care, for no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. If anyone builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each person's work. If what has been built survives, the builder receives a reward. If it is burnt up, the builder will suffer loss, but yet will be saved, even though only as one escaping through the flames. So there we see it. Again, Paul recognizes that he's a builder, building on the foundation of Jesus, speaking to a Christian who's accepted salvation, but says even for him who is saved, you can choose to build with gold, choose to build with silver, choose to build with stone, with wood, with hay, or with straw. And a testing is coming. And if your works stand, you receive a reward. Some will get saved, but suffer loss, meaning they built, but the building blocks were hay, not gold. But the man that builds with gold, or with silver, or costly stone, whatever stands the test of the fire, provides for that man a reward. That is why you must find your good works. 1, you must find the foundation, which is Jesus. 2, salvation is but the start. On that foundation, you must build with good works. And you choose the stones. Not every work. Some works are hay, some works are straw, but some works are gold, some works are costly stones, some works are silver. Hence why you need to learn the distinction. A man must find the distinction in the works that he does. Many Christians, been saved for many years, look at the quality of their life and wonder, why is this not going anywhere? I'm reading promises, I'm reading instruction, but nothing is happening. I remember in writing the book, God gave me the vision of a construction site and how coming into the construction site, the gate was salvation. And so every morning, as construction workers do, you show up to the construction site. And many men showed up in the morning and went through the gate. And that gate is salvation. That many are willing to accept Jesus and say, I'm a sinner, you're my Lord, I want you to be my foundation. But then as soon as people come in through the door, what they do is they meet a foreman. And a foreman says, I'm going to assign you your assignments, your jobs. Some men are told to haul sand, some men are told to carry water, some men are told mix the cement, and some people are told feed the other workers, cook. And I saw in my vision a man come into the construction site, and then he was assigned to haul sand from one end of the construction site to another end where it was needed. And on his way to his assignment, he saw his friend in the kitchen cooking, and he thought, oh, I'll stop, I'll say hello. And he stopped and he said hello, and he got involved in the talking and in the making of the food. And the day goes by, and he's helped with making the food, he's helped in serving the food, everyone's fed and happy. But then the end of the day comes, and the foreman calls everyone to get their pay. And he calls the kitchen staff and he pays them off, and he calls the haulers of the sand and he pays them off. And then this man is in his line with the people hauling sand, and the foreman asks him, how many bags of sand did you haul? And he says, oh, none, actually. What I did is I ended up in the kitchen and I spent the day making food for the other builders. So yes, I'd like my pay now. And the foreman says, but that's not what I asked you to do. That's not what I assigned you to do. I'm glad that the people got fed, but someone was assigned to that task. You chose to do a different task, and your task remained undone. And so no pay, no reward is due to you. And what I got out of that was that salvation is but the gate. And for many, many, many years, the message of salvation, which is a wonderful message, has been preached. But then it stops there. And men get saved. And then they continue to do what they're doing. without finding out what they actually need to be doing on this foundation, on this building site. What is my task? What is my role? Because the day is coming to end and a reward is due. I'd like to read one more verse, and this comes from Romans 8:28, a verse that we say all the time, and it says, New International Version, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Let me try a different version, New Living Translation. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose for them. The Berean Study Bible says, and we know that God works all things together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Now the two words that stick to me there, again, good, purpose. That all things are working together for good, not for everything, not for anything, working together for the good, for those who are called according to His purpose. That if we are doing anything outside what He determines as good and in His purpose, not everything is working together for our good. If you're doing a task and it's not a good task, it's not a task originated from God for you that He has empowered you to do, not everything's working for you. It has to work together for good according to His purpose. Therein is success. If you're going to see your full potential, everything has been made available for life and for godliness, but it is available in the path of good. It is available as long as you're doing the good works. All things are working together for good, not the options, working together for good. And that's all for today, folks. Allow me to take a breather here. Thank you so much for journeying with me. I pray the words spoken today linger in your spirit and the light of God shines upon you to see something new, to guide you to become the person you were created to be. The world is longing to see it. I would also love to hear from you. Do write a comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless.